What's good with everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Get the Hoops podcast. I'm pretty sure this is episode 22, and I'm joined here today by a basketball watcher at its highest level. Shout out to my man. He does a lot of coverage for the Sacramento Kings. He also has a YouTube channel as well that he pops up. He's consistent for pretty much every Kings game during the regular season, and he's a good guy. Welcome, Deuce, to the play.
Talk about obsessed with basketball. You are watching everything all the time. You're creating content left and right. It is August 13th. It's the so-called dead period, and it doesn't feel that way because you're literally all over it.
Yeah, man. I just love basketball so much. And I always look at every offseason, right? There's many creators that pause and just come back. But I say, okay, so much happened in the regular season. Let's unpack everything for all 30 teams and see how every team is impacted. Because once the season starts up again, Convo's very long time, they have finally clinched. They made it to the playoffs. It was a very, very big season. But last season, let me know your thoughts as a Kings fan seeing that happen.
I think at first it was utterly shock around Sacramento. Like, I was just shocked because, you know, there was so much noise. Like, hey, the Kings are going to be active during that time. You heard a lot about De'Aaron Fox. I just didn't, I never thought it was going to be Haliburton. So once that move was up, the team is losing. He doesn't seem totally engaged at this point. So I think the initial reaction from people was like, I don't know what they just did. They're betting that Fox is going to be that guy and they're giving up Haliburton for Sabonis. Well, it ended up being something that was perfect for Sacramento. Like, Tyrese is a stud, and I think Indiana has a great young core. They're headed in an awesome direction with that talent. He does so many good things out on the floor. You got to give up something to get something. And I think the Kings believe that De'Aaron Fox had another level to get to, and that getting a player like Sabonis could help Fox get to that next level. And Sabonis is one of the better bigs in the league. So it's one of those trades that at this point you look at and go, I think it worked out for
like 12 seed, 11 seed. I thought this team was going to be right in that race to make the playoffs. But for you, what were your thoughts?
I thought going into the season, I thought the offense was going to be really good. I thought they were going to take a big jump. I didn't envision the type of jump, but like there's definitely pieces here, right? You add Herter, they added Monk last offseason with Fox, Sabonis, Mike Brown. Tell me they can't win more than 33 games. So I was higher on them than most, but I also was not this high. I did not think they were going to win 48 games.
Yeah, it was just an outstanding season that they had. And I have to highlight this too, like the way the Kings started their season, they were, yeah. I love bringing this up because I watched all 4 of those games and a lot of people just didn't. So they were like, oh, they're 0-4, it's the same team. And I watched this like, no, they're not the same team. Like they barely lost those games and they were competitive in every single one of those losses. And I just had like a big amount of respect for Sac because the vibe just felt different. Like the atmosphere, the chemistry, and the way the team was rallying around Mike Brown and responding to his voice early on. Like you could see that, okay, this team is not the same. Like even before basketball was played, how he had these guys running suicides up and down, like throughout the gym. You just felt the infectious energy Mike Brown was putting to the team. And then, you know, obviously you guys wind up having the best offense in the NBA. Sabonis is playing at a super dominant level, but the leap De'Aaron Fox took, I said for me this year, like I never give up on players until we're like in like the 5th or 6th year. So for Fox, I'm like, this has to be the year for me that Fox takes that step. And my goodness, did he? I mean, all NBA caliber guy, had a phenomenal season. What were your expectations for De'Aaron coming into this upcoming season?
So I've always been the guy that was the Fox truther because I saw enough flashes. I'm like, he just needs some help. Get the guy some help. Let's see what it looks like. And you saw the flag. You mentioned that 18-19 season where it was a super young Kings team and Dave Yeager was pretty much like, hey, let's just run, just push the pace like crazy. And you saw the flashes. Then you saw Fox, you know, in the coming years, the scoring upticked, but the wins weren't there. And people, you know, we do this in the league sometimes where the best guy, even if they show potential, if you're not winning, you're not going to get the love. I mean, we saw that with Devin Booker in Phoenix, right? Like,
yes,
Book got so disrespected over the years because his team wasn't winning. Now, was that all on him? I think some of it, you definitely take some responsibility, but there was chaos in the organization. There was missed lottery picks, coaching turmoil, flawed rosters. Similar with De'Aaron Fox. It wasn't a perfect situation in Sacramento over the years. They didn't have a ton around him. And then, let's be honest, when the Kings have certain weaknesses and they decide, okay, we're going to draft Tyrese Haliburton, we're going to draft Davion Mitchell. I think if you're De'Aaron Fox mentally, that's like, wait, I thought I was a point guard. You just drafted two point guards. So I think there's a lot of layers there. And I think people slept on his ability. He's also gotten better, but he's been an elite mid-range player. When he first got in the league, it was, this guy's the fastest guy in the league. Like he was a blur. Now it's a change of pace, right? He could speed you up, slow you down. He could finish at the rim, mid-range. The 3-point shot, you hope to get better. Like I'd love for him to be like 35% consistently, which isn't great, but that's I'll take that. But he does so many good things out there, so explosive. And I think as the years went on, maybe I was a little more concerned, like, okay, well, maybe I'm just wrong on this. But once they got Sabonis, once they got shooting around these guys with Herter, Monk, Keegan Murray, you saw the offense open up, and you saw how explosive De'Aaron Fox could be with that spacing.
Oh yes, like I have not been down on Fox primarily because I've been watching Fox since he was in college, and again, like Lonzo Ball, he was my favorite prospect that year. And seeing what Fox did to him in the Sweet 16 tourney, like the change of pace that Fox brought, like, he's automatically in like the top 90% in terms of speed and just raw athleticism. But throughout the years, I think he slowly started to develop more of an outside shot. The mid-range shot is a shot he's become a lot more comfortable with. But the fact that each year he's taking steps to improve the way that he's getting to the basket, his angles, the way that he's passing out of double teams and triple teams, but the way that he's using his pace to help other players, like his chemistry with Monk, who by the way, same college and all that stuff, right? But those two guys, in terms of how they just turned up as these guys who, maybe we can't shoot the three at a consistent high level, sure, but you're still gonna guard us because of how quick we can get to the rim, how good our pull-up can be sometimes, how if we're in rhythm, that three can really bury you. Like that Kings team brought a lot of the same pace that they had from years past, but also with the semblance of a sophisticated half-court offense. Because there's a huge difference between you going 100 miles an hour and not knowing how to slow down things and get a good set. But the way Fox and Sabonis played in that pick and roll, even without each other, that half-court offense was a real thing this year.
Oh, yeah. And then the dribble handoffs with Sabonis and Herter and Sabonis and Murray, which, to the Warriors' credit, they did a great job defending that come playoff time. But the offense was explosive. And when you have that type of shooting, when you have a ton of players on the Kings with high basketball IQ, and there has to be a level of, you got to check your ego a little bit, and sometimes with this offense, right? Because De'Aaron and Sabonis are going to do their things, but you know what? Herter one night could be the guy that's getting a ton of shots. It could be Monk the other night. It could be Davion Mitchell, Keegan. That could be tough for some players, but when you have the buy-in from all the players, when Mike Brown has set that kind of culture and foundation with that coaching staff of the accountability you mentioned, and the ball moves, you're going to get yours sometimes, but you still have to check your ego a bit. And I think the 100%. Kings, this year's Kings team did a great job of that. It was a selfless team that was moving the ball, making the extra pass. And when the ball's got energy, that's a fun way to play. Like it's such a fun style to play in. And it's obviously more fun when you're executing it at a high level and winning games.
And that's why, for me, as soon as you guys got Mike Brown, I'm like, this is really big for the Kings, because again, Mike Brown was literally in our system in terms of like passing and like having the ball not stick, bringing that style to Sac with more athleticism and more guys who can knock down shots, to me is why you were able to be so productive. But the biggest thing for me that impressed me the most is the resiliency from the Kings. And I say that because the second half of the season, it was funny because people were like, okay, the Kings are good, it's the first half of the season. Memphis, they're gonna probably, beat them. LA, they just traded all these players. They're gonna probably come up. A lot of people had the Kings kind of being like, let's say the Jazz, right? Like a team that had like this hot start, but then it levels down and they don't make the playoffs. And instead the Kings said, no, we're just good. Let's continue to have the best offense in the league and let's just continue to be a much better team. And like Sabonis got injured during the season and said, you know what? I'm still going to play. We have to make the playoffs. I want he played through that. I have a huge amount of respect for that and the resiliency to say, ignore all these outside expectations. We know who we are. We trust ourselves. Let's go out there and perform. And to do that and finally break the long playoff drought, I have a ton of respect for that. To me, that was the best story in the NBA last season, Deuce.
I agree. And you go back to the Sabonis injury. That happened just after Christmas in December. Sabonis could have been out, had surgery, and missed 6 to 8 weeks, and that would have been devastating for the Kings season. He wanted to play through it. He missed the next game, and the only reason he said he missed it is because the special splint he was wearing wasn't ready. So he missed the first game against Denver, played the next one, and he played after that. And that level of toughness, just fighting through stuff, he's one of the toughest players in the league.
Hey guys, this is Editor Gifted in the building. Just want to say, appreciate everyone that made it this far. If you want to see more, this is a snippet from a full podcast that I did with Deuce. Links to his channel and all that are in the description. But if you want to watch this full episode again, it's on the channel. It'll be in the recommended playing at the end of this video, so tap in for that. Appreciate all the support and stay tuned for the next gifted upload. Peace out, people.